and thank you so much for joining me for Scrappy Sunday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. And every Sunday evening, I like to bring you a project that uses some memory-keeping products, which, by the way, often look a lot like card-making products. But tonight we are doing some memory keeping. In fact, I am using some designer series paper that was specifically designed for those who earned the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip that was to Disney in 2025, early 2025. It was earned from late 2023 to late 2024, and then I thankfully earned it, my first one ever, and got to go on it in March of this year. So I'm going to be using that paper, and I'm sorry that you can't get it, but hopefully you can get some ideas on how you might be able to memory keep or scrapbook some of these special events in your life. Let's get started. On our last evening of the incentive trip, when we came back to our hotel room, we found this in our room, and it was a designer series paper pack designed specifically for trip achievers. It has a Mary Poppins themed, the same as the Grand Floridian. So it makes it nice to scrapbook this particular trip. This is what I'm going to use for my opening spread of the trip. So I'm going to set that aside because I'll be using that today. We've got some kites. And this is going to be great for, either just some big labels or some journaling, or I've got a spread planned out for this one. Cute little penguins. Our chandelier in our hotel room had little bird lights, except for one of the bird lights was a penguin. We were alerted to that fact by one of the staff members, so we went looking for it. Otherwise, we never would have noticed it. Okay, I'm going to begin with this, and I really wanted to, even as much as it's weird, I wanted to put the focus on me because this was my first incentive trip. So I printed out a photo of me standing by the sign, and I wanted to also incorporate my name badge that we were given. Because this is so light, it's the same color as this paper, what I did was I took a piece of Pretty Peacock, even though it doesn't match my photo, because the photos, I couldn't correct the color for some reason. It's okay. It matches the paper. What I did was I added 1/4 of an inch to the width of this and cut a piece of Pretty Peacock that was 4 inches wide, because this is 3 3/4. And then what I did was I traced around this with a pencil, and I don't know if you can see the pencil line or not. And then I just cut about 1/4 of an inch above it. And so that gives me, and then I did the same thing on the other end. So that gives me a really nice top and bottom. I'm going to take a piece of tear and tape and adhere that on. And both sides look about the same. So it doesn't really matter where I add the tear and tape. I'm going to add quite a bit just because this is a little bit heavier. It's a thick plastic. Well, it's a thin plastic, but it's still thicker than cardstock. Can't get the estimation of the length right. Okay. Because I don't want those pencil lines to show, I'm going to flip over that piece of Pretty Peacock as well. Let's see if I can get this on here pretty nicely. That looks pretty good. All right, I just need a little bit more of a dip right here. And here. There we go. That's good. Okay. And I wanted to matte this, so I thought I'd bring in one of the pinks. This strawberry slush was a little bit bright to me, so I brought in a piece of Flirty Flamingo. My photo is 4 by 6, so this is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I will also adhere that with some tear and tape. And let's just go a little bit on each side. You can use whatever adhesive you would like. All our adhesives work well for memory keeping. They're going to be non-acidic and aren't going to damage your photos or your memories. Here we go. And this is going to go right here, roughly in the center. But first, what I want to do is, I need a little space. I'm going to write my first incentive trip along the top. And I brought in my mini alphabet dies. And the mini alphabet dies have one big die that has all the letters on it. Then we've got some special letters in case you're writing in a different language. And we've also got some parentheses, question marks, some different punctuation. I needed, in order to do my first incentive trip, I could get almost all the letters out of this one die cut, except for I needed 2 extra I's and 2 extra T's. So I just cut a smaller piece that cut out those particular parts. There's actually another little piece that I stuck over here on this one little I, but these guys were, this I and these 2 T's were all together, but I just cut little pieces for what I needed. And so then I have all these letters. We just have to arrange them. Okay, so we have all the letters, but they're not looking very good at the moment. Now, I could draw a very light pencil line in there, or I could take a ruler and kind of place that down to help. So it's about the right, distance from the top that I want. So I'm gonna place my M and my T first. And for this, I'm gonna just use a little bit of glue. And let's go ahead and make sure this is roughly where I want it. It is. Okay, and I'm going with the position of my ruler as it relates to these 2 leaves here. Yes, I could have used adhesive sheets, but I think adhesive is not quite as strong as this, and I want this to. So as it turns out, when your alarm goes off, when you're recording a video and you shut the alarm off, it stops the video. which I didn't ask it to stop the video, so I apologize. You missed me putting on all these letters, but really it was just, you saw that I lined up my ruler, and then I put down my incentive trip letters with some green glue. And then what I said was, then what I did was I adhered my photo layer to the center down here. I brought in my Hearts of Elegance dies. These are great for Valentine's, for weddings and anniversaries, anytime you want to celebrate any kind of love or express love, which I loved being on this trip. I loved earning this trip. So I die cut some hearts. And so there's this one. I've already got that one adhered. That's when I sort of noticed that my video wasn't running. My video is up above my eye level, so I don't even know what made me check, but thankfully I checked. Now I'm going to just adhere the other pieces. I'll explain to you how I got one of my hearts in just a moment. But I'm using them as embellishments the way I use card embellishments, and I'm using odd numbers here. So let's go ahead and peel off the back here. Come on. Here we go. So when you're writing your words, you start, so I started this first line, I started with the M, and I wrote my this way, and I wrote first this way, so that I could make sure that the letters started and ended in roughly the same, width of the page. And then I did the same thing for incentive trip. It's important that you kind of lay it out first, which I did, to make sure it fits. And then once you know that it fits, then you can go ahead and just use your ruler as a guide to determine your placement. For that second row, I put my ruler so that the top was along the word my first, and then I just put the incentive trip just slightly below that. All right, so let's put this on here right now, just like that. And this heart is already affixed. For this heart, there is no heart that just does an outline, but if you take this heart from Hearts of Elegance and place this one inside, oh, that's how I discovered it, because I wanted to see if I was on camera, if I was working too low at one point. When you die cut this, put them together, you can tape them if you want. I didn't, and got lucky and got a perfect little outline heart. So we're just going to put this right up here. Now the one thing about those letters that I used, they don't have numbers. So I can either handwrite in the numbers, or I can use it on the journaling on my next page, which I'm going to hold off and I'm going to journal over there. So there we go. And there is, you know what, I think it would be nice to just journal over here. Maybe I'll put in May 2025 with my Stampin' Right marker. Let's go ahead and do that. And it was May 13 to 18. And I'm going to make that 2025 a little bit larger. And there is my first of the 2-page spreads. Now for the second spread, I need to measure the length here, which means I'm going to need a longer ruler. And I'm really going to probably, if I measure between the hearts, so let's use the empirical side here. So if I measure between the hearts, it's about 6 3/4 by 7. So it's a little bit longer this way. So I'm going to work on getting a piece that maybe is 6 1/2 by 6 3/4. So it'll come in just a little bit. I do want to mat it, so maybe I'll even come in a little bit more. Let's try maybe something that's 6 by 5 3/4. And I can do a trial run of that. Here's a piece that's 6 by 5 3/4. This isn't the piece I'm going to be using. I'm going to be incorporating the Flirty Flamingo. I think I do want it to be a little bit wider. I don't think I want it to be taller though. So I think I will go maybe 5 1/2 by 7. Nope, this is 6. So 5 1/2 by 6 1/2. I just happen to have a piece of 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 Flirty Flamingo. That looks to me like it would be a really good width here. But obviously the length is too much. So I think it would be great if I put it by these hearts. So let's see what that length would be. So it looks like 6 3/4 would be a good length. Let me trim that down and see how that looks. 6 3/4 by 5 1/2. And that would be my journaling area right there. Yep, I think that's going to work out really nicely, just like that. So now I'm going to type up a piece of text and print it on some basic white, and that will tell the story. And I don't want to handwrite it because it's way too long. I know I'll make mistakes. All right, so I have printed out, and I trimmed this down a little bit to fit, but I printed out my story. I began as a demonstrator in January 2011 as a way to subsidize my paper crafting hobby and to provide some opportunity to get out for some adult interaction while raising 2 young children with special needs. My business has varied over the years from fairly busy to just hanging on, but I decided during the pandemic, when I was a little bored, to really take it up a notch. I joined Rhonda Wade's coaching network and started a business Facebook page and YouTube channel. It became apparent in early 2024 that although I would not be able to earn that incentive trip, I could possibly earn the following year's trip. I worked hard and earned it with 2 weeks to spare. The ironic part of it all is that Peter and I had gone to Disney a couple years before and said, yeah, we're okay, never going to Disney again. But Stampin' Up does things first class, and so we stayed at a gorgeous resort. Everything was paid for, and we had a great time. I don't know if I'll ever earn another trip, but at least I can say I earned one, which less than 1% of all demonstrators do each year. So I'm very thankful, even if it wasn't a location that I normally would have picked. Let's put this on with some tear and tape. I really would have loved the year before when they went to Mexico. Saw all those pictures, and those are fabulous. And I really would have loved the one that is for the current year, which is an Alaskan cruise. But that is nowhere in my range. And the next one that they've announced, they announced this on this incentive trip, is that in 2027 they're going to Costa Rica. And that one looks great. I'm all about the tropical. Alaska would have been nice, and that would have been the exception, I think. But can't go wrong with tropical, especially when the trip is in March. We know what March in Maine is like. I'm just going to mount this on another piece of Flirty Flamingo so it goes with the other half we just did. All right. I'm not sure how many pages this spread will be. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to put this down here just like this. And then from one of the pages that was in this designer series paper, there's one paper, let's see if I can find it, that has a bunch of pieces on it. So I trimmed this one out of the other page, obviously, and so I'm going to use that as a header right up here. Now this is a little higher than that is over there, so I'm going to use some dimensionals to get that top to stick up a little bit more. And I'll just use regular tear and tape on the bottom of it. I think we'll use a couple of different ones here, and then we'll just use some down here at the bottom. All right. Get that scrap out, and we're just going to center this on here. There we go. And there is our second page. And I realized what I could have done here down for the date is I could have just done 2025 in stamped numbers, because I do have number stamps. Not only that, but I'm getting number stamps when I get the month by month kit for the scrapbooking kit that's coming up. I actually already got the kit. I just haven't broken it open yet. But that is my initial 2-page spread that tells a little bit about and introduces the trip. And I'm going to do at least one more spread, maybe 2. But that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me today. And more than that, thank you for your support. I could not have achieved this incentive trip without those of you who follow my channel and my Facebook business page, who order products from me, and especially those of you who are on the Stamperhood team. I love each and every aspect of this little business that I have, and I could not be more thankful for all the people who have come into my life as a result of it. If you would like to learn a little bit more about this side, my side of Stampin' Up, then I would be happy to connect with you sometime. And remember, you don't have to demonstrate a thing. You may want a small business where you share it with other people and introduce them to all the wonderful Stampin' Up products, but you may strictly want it for a personal discount, and there's nothing wrong with that. Stampin' Up welcomes demonstrators of all types. Thank you so much. I will see you next week for another layout from my incentive trip, and you can see some of the fun I had. But also don't forget to join me this Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Technique Tuesday. It's going to be irresistible. See you then.